Yes, ladies. So we are live. We are live, and we want to just thank anybody who will be joining us in tonight. We know that some may come in and out of the conversation after we start, but for those who will be joining us from the beginning, I like to start off by introducing myself. I am Tierra Banks, and I am help with the outreach and social media here at Mother Daughter Coaching International, where we are under the wonderful teaching of Rashki Hazeldine. So, Rashki, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, well, thank you, Tara. Yeah, I'm Roshka
Absolutely.
Hasseldine. I'm founder director of Mother Daughter Coaching International, where we offer uh, courses for mothers and daughters, but also actually professional training for therapists and coaches on how to work with mothers and daughters. And also, as many students say, the course also helps them understand their mother-daughter relationship, actually. So, I mean, and of course, it's if we don't get our own mother-daughter relationship, how can we work with our clients? So, yeah, I'm author of 2 books, articles, blah blah blah. Anyway, Hilary, what about you?
Yeah, Hillary, go ahead and
I'm
introduce
yeah,
yourself as our
I'm
wonderful
Hilary
guest
Strong.
tonight.
I'm Hilary Strong. I am a former student of Rashka Hasseldine and um, u- using her work everywhere in my current work. I coach mothers and daughters. I travel with mothers and daughters. I speak about the mother and teen daughter relationship. And I'm a former therapist for teen girls.
You were also on our teaching faculty last year. Let's not forget
Yes.
that. You,
Yes.
Yeah, don't forget that. Under that long list of things that you do. Thank you so much, Hillary, for being with us tonight. Both Rashka and I were excited to have you in this conversation. And I know before we went live, we was just, even complimenting how unique your offering is. You made that clear distinction in your introduction. You said the mother and teen daughter relationship. So if you could just, just start off and just share with our guests a little bit about like what it is that you do.
Yeah, sure. So I was a therapist for teen girls. I before that I was a family therapist, and then I kind of niched down to focus on teen girls because I really loved working with them and I felt like I had a good connection. In that work, I would see this breakdown between them and their moms over and over. It just became really clear when I only focused on this age group. And I decided I need to figure out what's happening here between mothers and teen daughters. I knew myself, I struggled with my mom as a teenager. And I know many other women who did as well. And so I went in search of answers. I found this wonderful book called The Mother Daughter Puzzle. I read it cover to cover in one weekend, which I never do. And then I reached out to the author, Rashka, and was like, "How do I learn from you? Your book was amazing. I need to know more." And immediately I signed up for, any course that was available that I could get started in. And I just I love Rashka's energy, her wisdom, the path that she's forged for all of us to really
Mhm.
serve mothers and daughters and teach them about the dynamics and what's happened in their relationship. And in my work, the attachment between mother and daughter is so important. And obviously, that's where Rashka's coming from as well. And during the teen years, we see that attachment start to break down. And so my focus has been in helping mothers navigate the teen years with their daughters so they can stay in relationship. And recently, I've even kind of backed up a little bit more, and I'm now working with moms of girls as young as 7 to teach them how to prevent the breakdown.
Mm.
Some of that's coming from my own relationship. My daughter's going to be 9 this year, and I just saw, things have started to change. And I
Mhm.
thought, moms, my friends who have daughters the same age, they could really use that support and understand now so they know what
Mhm.
to expect and how to nurture that relationship moving forward instead of looking backwards and trying to fix any breakdowns.
Hmm. Well,
brilliant.
thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
I think you are, Hilary. To me, you're the poster graduate of how you've
Mm.
taken the material and really made it yours.
Mm.
Mhm.
And created this way of, you've found your niche, like what gets you up in the morning, what lights you up, and I can tell your face lights up as soon as she starts talking about it. And you also do it in a way that works for you as well, in terms of your the retreats or the travel. You would be better explain that more. So that's the thing. I think that prospective students or therapists and coaches who haven't done the training, they think just mother-daughter, but there is so much you can do actually with the lifespan, and really hone in on a certain, part of that lifespan, like you've done teens and preteens, and then also be really creative in the way that you do it. I think is inspirational.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree. And I follow your work and I'm always amazed. Like, oh, she's found another way to, and especially with that age group, you have to be innovative, in this relationship. We know how complex it can be to understand, but you continue to find ways, just to innovate, the strategies and use the information and make it your own. Like as if it's new information, you keep representing it in a different way, and that's very admirable.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I guess that's what happens, right? We learn it, we filter it through, our own perspectives, and it's not hard. I mean, I've really taken it in, and I apply it to everything.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of work I'd be doing with mothers and daughters if I didn't understand the mother-daughter dynamics that Rashka teaches. I just it's such a huge part of what I do and what I share, and how I can deeply, help women and girls. So I feel like I don't know any other way at this point. It's hard to imagine what life would look like if I didn't find the book, take the courses, learn from Rashka.
That's actually a perfect segue. I wanted to ask you a question. Could you recall a time prior to having this knowledge? Like, what was one barrier that you found yourself, experiencing in the relationship that now that you have the information, you have answers for?
Yeah, when I was still a therapist, I was working with girls and women, obviously, and some of the like 20-year-old women, young women that I would see would have issues with their moms, and I would really treat it like any other relationship. I didn't have specific knowledge about why those things were happening, and were they asking for too much, what their mom was capable of giving. And in fact, I had one of those young women ask, can my mom come to sessions with me? Can we have conversations together? And as a family therapist, I was like, yes, let's bring her in and talk. And I can remember feeling like this mom needs a lot and she's not listening to her daughter. Like, her daughter invited her here so that she had a space to hopefully have her mom hear her and understand her, and having them come to some kind of understanding, right? And I was really stuck with, well, this mom has needs too. So how do I help her feel heard, versus really understanding, that it's so important that daughters feel heard and understood. And that's always the mom's kind of responsibility to do that and to take care of herself, right? Not for the daughter to feel this burden of taking care of her mom. And I think if I had that information, I would have approached those sessions differently and helped them in a different way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That what you're saying is, it's so interesting, because you're really sort of affirming. The other week, a client actually said that to me. She's not the first. Like, they say, they've read my book, they like my approach, and I'm thinking, I can't see any other way of understanding. I wouldn't know of any other way of understanding the mother-daughter relationship outside, the sort of looking at it generationally, looking at it systemically, but also looking particularly at the lack of needs voice. That's what the patriarchal effect on the mother-daughter relationship.
Mhm.
But I think in therapy world and the profession, it's this sort of like it's like any other relationship, when actually it isn't, because
Mhm.
it does have its own. After all, it's what female experience is. It is a
Mhm.
mother-daughter relationship. It's affected by the female experience, especially the female experience with patriarchy. So yeah, it deserves its own attention and its own way of understanding it.
Yeah.
It does. It does. And I think it's really hard for moms to get that. It takes some time to understand um you didn't get what you needed, and here's how you do that, and it can't be coming from your daughter, right? I it's and that's something I've given myself in the way that I apply your work is a longer sessions, a longer runway to doing the work together to teach it over time, so that they can see all of those connections with how women are treated in the family and how
Yeah.
they don't have a voice, or other women in the family didn't have a voice, and they're really taking away their daughter's voice in turn. um, there's so many layers to
Yes.
it that I had no idea sitting in those sessions.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that mothers struggle with that, especially if they had to take care of their mom and their mother took care of them. And that
Mhm.
not only the normalization of silence and emotional neglect, but also, we're supposed to take care of mom. So
Mhm.
why? And that's what I grew up with too. I mean, it was even verbally said in my family, daughters are responsible for their mom.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't even a secret, which in some families,
Mm.
it's this unknown secret, like it's expected, but it's not voiced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit. Hillary, you mentioned I think you used the term longer runway and longer sessions.
Mm.
How receptive or I guess a better way would say, how are moms appreciating you willing to take the time, like the longer sessions, like, just providing the adequate space that they need to actually heal? Like, how has that been working for you?
I think it works well. I think, when I was a therapist, sometimes I would feel like, oh, it's 45 minutes into the session, we're just getting into it.
Mm.
And so I do between 60 and 90 minutes. Usually it's 90. Um, so that they walk away feeling not only did they get everything out, they learned something new, and hopefully they had some sort of aha moment, where they thought, wow, I could see this differently, or I know, something new I'm going to try with my daughter. They have some sort of action step they're going to take. And the longer runway is, as a coach, it's sort of a commitment to work with me for a number of months. So then they know
Hmm.
they're with me, I'm with them, for that period of time, and we have
Hmm.
specific goals we're working on. Whereas in therapy, it was again 50 minutes. We're done no
Hmm.
matter what's happening, right? Because I've got somebody right after you. And then I'm seeing them week by week, and they might fall off. They might ask to come, less frequently. And so it works better because people who sign up and say yes are willing to do the work, and they
Hmm.
want to make a change in their relationships. So they're all in, which is great.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I actually just had a client maybe last month. This was the first time that it happened, but after my sessions are 60 to 90 minutes, this one was 60. But like you said, after that 60-minute mark, it was like we had just opened the door, like the conversation was just getting good. And the mom and the daughter asked, like, can we just do another session right now? Can we not end? And that was the first time that a client had requested that from me. And I was a little leery because, sometimes you feel like the conversation could go so long and it can become redundant, or it could start to actually cause harm. But in this case, it was much needed. It was just like the
Mhm.
first session was a straight icebreaker, And then so I love what you said about just taking the time, and just not rushing it, not feeling so restricted by that time.
Mm.
Yeah.
it
And
feels
I think I apply that too to what Rashka teaches us, to just about, seeing mom with soft eyes and, just the compassion, which is what I think really sets Rashka's work apart from any other mother-daughter framework that I've encountered. Is so compassionate, it's so patient, it's so gentle, but yet it's so true. And it's healing. It's actually therapeutic. So that's what I appreciate about it.
Thank you, Tiara. I mean, what you're describing here feels nourishing in a way.
Mm-hmm.
In a
Mm-hmm.
world and in a family environment where women have little, often are there to facilitate for others and have little time and space for themselves, to be given, like you say, the longer runway and the great, all the space
Mm-hmm.
in which to unpack who they are, how they feel, find better ways of particularly, working with relating with their daughter. Yeah, it actually feels nourishing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
it's so different. I mean, as we're talking, and I've been talking about this for a while, it's so different too in terms of how in some therapy sections and the social media, like this mother wound and mother hunger, all those terms that are being used to sort of blame mums. This feels so much more healthy, real, supportive, honest. Yeah.
Mhm.
It feels loving.
Ah.
Yeah.
It feels
Mm.
loving.
Yeah. And moms don't get enough of that, really.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it reminds me that, a lot of moms who find me will either say they were blamed either by their daughter for everything that has gone wrong, which we talk about, of course, and then
Mm-hmm.
or the therapist that they worked with she felt blame by the therapist as well, um, in maybe previous work they had done before they got to me. And I know that's obviously not what therapists are trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it comes out so differently when we join with the mom. It's sort of like linking arms with her, like, "It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I've got you.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you. I hear you. It's so hard, and here's what we're gonna do, and here's how I want you to understand this." It really is this gentle process so that moms were doing anything but blaming them or shaming them for what they've done. And, we all get it, right? Moms are human and we are making decisions all day long, every day. And we make mistakes, and we don't need to be crucified for that.
No,
Yeah.
we do the best we can with the support and the knowledge we have at the time. And I think too, once a mother's in therapy, her eyes have opened a bit and she is sort of seeing things from a different perspective. And then therefore blaming her from today's perspective for what happened in the past, I think is really cruel, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean to say that the daughter's reality is washed away either. The daughter's truth and what she needed and perhaps didn't get from mom at the time is very real. But it's it's not either or.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
understand what other stuff went on that harmed both mum and daughter at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
what needs weren't met for either of them. So yeah, this is I get so frustrated actually because I feel this is such a needed voice.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been great if that voice had been around when I was a teenager, quite frankly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Which is
But
almost,
here we are.
yeah. And I'm here because
Yes.
there wasn't one then, probably. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, me too. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a difficult time and development to navigate. And I think I talk a lot about how mothers believe, that this is reality. It's supposed to be hard. They're supposed to push back. They're supposed to sort of reject you in favor of their their peers, and we kind of take a back seat. And so it's undoing, all of those myths that they believe and that they've been told and their friends are telling them. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the local moms group on Facebook, and the things that they say, I'm like, oh man, we can't just accept that this is reality and it's hard. We could find ways to make it easier and to manage, to
Mm-hmm.
support our kids, and
Yeah.
not feel so stuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I know in my family, we always heard like if mom and daughter gets along, when the daughter becomes an adult, then the job wasn't done right. Like you're supposed to be enemies at the end. That means you did a good job. Like
Wow.
that was, because it was just so regular. It was normal for all mother daughters in relationships to just be so tumultuous. Like we thought that's how it had to be. And I even find myself with my daughter. I know you mentioned your daughter, Hilary. My daughter is she'll be 14. And even in this work, even with all the knowledge, with all the awareness, the tools, I find myself still kind of anticipating the breakdown. Like, oh my gosh, she's about to be at this age where everybody say,
Mm.
she's going to start hating, and I have to, reject that idea because it does not have to be that way. Like I find myself like, oh, you still want to be around me? Like surprised. Oh, you still like me? You still think I'm cool? Um, and I love being able to share that with other moms, like you just said. Like it does not have to be this way. Like just because this was all we saw, it does not mean that it has to be that way. It can mean it was common, but it doesn't mean that there's not a better way available.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's maybe a side effect of our job too, is that we're so aware of, what happens, or so aware of, what happens between our clients, that we're sort of
Hmm.
thinking like, is this happening? And
Hmm.
what's going on? We can see in the future.
I know.
Yeah.
I was so, because my grandson is a year old now, and so a year ago when my daughter became a mom, I was so aware because that's another. So teenage years,
Hmm.
daughter has a baby is another one of these flashpoints, and I thought I was so aware of, like, oh man, what's going to go wrong? When in fact,
Hmm.
we really are programmed to expect, like you say, Tiara,
Hmm.
we're programmed to expect
Hmm.
sort of severing of the relationship when in fact actually we're wired to need each other,
Hmm.
especially
Yeah.
at these times. I mean, daughters really need their mums during the teen years
Hmm.
at all times, but especially and when they become mums.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Right. And when I share that with moms, they're blown away, that
Hmm.
she actually needs me, that that's
Hmm.
nothing they've ever heard. It's the
Hmm.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that's I think the patriarchal voice actually.
Mm-hmm.
Divide and rule.
Mm.
They've got mothers and
Hmm.
daughters fighting with each other, then that's what they're focused on. They're not focused on change.
Yeah. And also the misinterpretation, like teen girls, they struggle articulating, their needs. So it may come off as an attitude, but it's really like, no, I don't want to be bothered, but you know what that means, Hillary, like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just a misinterpretation. We weren't taught like how nobody ever stopped and asked the teen either. Like, what does that mean? What
Yeah.
do
Mm-hmm.
you really need? So we can really break this cycle if we get to the teens like you're doing, and you're saying that you're going all the way back to even 7 years old now. If we're training our girls with really articulating their feelings and saying it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're
Mm-hmm.
not weak for this. It's okay to
Mm-hmm.
need, we need one another. I think we can really disrupt some cycles.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And taking the responsibility off of them, um, to have to grow up so fast and
Hmm.
to have everything pulled together. I mean, the pressure, it's another thing I talk about, is the pressures that moms feel, and then the pressures
Hmm.
that teen girls feel. And they're so similar, and they don't
Hmm.
always realize, oh,
Hmm.
I'm trying to do everything for everyone else. I'm trying to please everybody. I'm trying to look a certain way. I'm trying to fit in. It's just, it's so interesting when they can see like, wow, I'm putting the same pressures on my daughter that I'm trying to reject, but not doing a great job
Right.
at. It's really important work and insights for them to have, because it's not anywhere else. This
Yeah.
information isn't anywhere else.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that pressure is actually getting worse. I mean, I grew up in New Zealand, so I was a teenager in New Zealand. But I think here like what's happening now here in America with social media and this expectation to get into good colleges, so academic pressure, there is a lot more pressure on teens than there was. I mean, it was the same. What you described was still there, but I think social media and educational expectations, I think, have made it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I was in a mother-daughter conversation, like panel discussion a couple weeks back, and some of the teens that were there, as they were speaking, like they were almost in unison saying how they feel kid guilt. Like they were talking about mom guilt, but then you have these teenagers that brought up like, well, can you please stop making this? I think the question was, if you could say anything to your mom, what would it be? And it was, can you stop making us feel bad? Like they were just talking about the guilt that they carry. And it was surprising. You could tell the moms, whose teens were present was just kind of shocked. Like, wait, tell me how I'm making you feel guilty.
Oops.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, you're back.
It was the same. Yeah, it was the same as to, like what you just said. It's they don't know. Like they just, like they know that the moms know they want to break away from these things. They want to reject all this pressure that their families or society has put on them, but they're literally putting them right on their daughters. I mean, and they might be, sometimes, especially when you don't know any better, you do it in a more gentle way. We may give this expectation with an explanation. We think that it makes more sense, but we're really just continuing the cycle of that societal pressure and that patriarchal pressure, that Rashka is talking about. So that mother-daughter, tension will continue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, ladies, we've nearly talked for 30 minutes.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
That was fast.
That was
Well,
fast.
Hilary, we love what you're doing. Like we love how you are being a champion for moms and showing them how to show up for themselves with compassion and grace, and even in extending that grace and compassion to their daughters. Like we need you, and we need others, who would join in the fight with us on this mother-daughter journey, like that we're all committed to. It's a pleasure to do this work with you.
Thank you. You as well.
Yeah, I would
Thank you.
go with that. I'm so glad my book found you and you found me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I am too.
you're an inspiration. You really are. So
Thank you, Rashka. That means a lot. Thank you.
keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So Hilary, before we conclude tonight, if you had the ear of any clinician, therapist, coach, what would you say to them about Rashka's work? Like, what would be your advice if they're on the fence, if they're considering taking the course, if they've gotten the book and need to go further? What would you say to them?
I would say what you learn from Rashka is not taught anywhere else. It's brand new information. And if you work with women or girls, this is a topic that you need to know about. You need to understand mother-daughter relationship dynamics and mother-daughter attachment. It plays a part in every single family, and having this knowledge is going to change everything about the way that you help women. And I had bought the book and I learned so much from it. And I thought, how really is the course going to be different? And it was. I mean, Rashka, broke down how she helps her clients, how she walks them through sessions, just being in Rashka's presence. And what you were saying, Tiara, about the the gentle, guided nature, but just
Mhm.
that the honesty as well.
Mhm.
You really pick up
Yeah.
on her approach in that way. And I mean, the conversations alone, I wanted to keep, I think everyone in my course had said, we just want to keep going.
I
Can we
Right.
make this longer? And now your courses are longer. It was like 4 weeks. And I was like, I want
Mhm.
like 12 weeks. I want to keep seeing
Right.
everybody every week.
Right.
It was such lively conversation.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's homework, you apply what you learn and you really process it deeply. And I can't speak highly enough about it, really. I think every therapist, every clinician should know this work.
Thank you, Hilary. Yes, I agree with you. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't see. I wish I knew what I know now. Started
Mm-hmm.
mothers and daughters, and not having a clue, and realizing my training wasn't really cutting it, even though it was damn good training
Mhm.
at the university. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true. At the end, it's now 6 weeks, but even still, it's like a band-aid gets ripped off. They just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you just want
Yeah.
more. You
You
just
just,
want
Yeah, it's
more.
this comforting circle.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
Mhm.
lovely to be in the class. But I mean, all courses have to come to an end at some point. But
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great part about our community that we should highlight because once the course is over, you're a part of our tribe forever. You have
Mhm.
options to become on the directory. We have continuous supervision. We have many opportunities to reconnect and stay connected with the tribe. So it's not like a one and done after 6 weeks. We
Mhm.
don't meet as frequently as we would like. And
No,
like Hillary and I both would love a weekly check-in
For
with our
sure.
classmates, but we do remain connected. So I like to highlight that for, prospective students also. Like you're just not investing in this one-time course. Like you truly are getting a family of mother-daughter coaches who, is just as committed to this work and could talk about it for hours, just like you. So you'll
Yeah.
find your people, you'll find your tribe.
Yeah, and I've been talking to Rashka about having a retreat for all of us at some
Yes.
point too. I bring it
Yes.
up a couple times a year.
Yes. Please keep bringing it up.
yeah,
It's coming, even if we'll all be sitting right in wherever she's sitting right now.
Yeah, in New
Like,
England. Yep.
yes, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Even if that's the place, but yeah, that has to happen because we all need to meet in person, which is amazing that we feel so connected and we've never even met in person.
Yeah.
I feel like I know you guys. I
Mhm.
feel like I've actually seen you, and I've only met
Yes,
in person. Phoebe, that's the only one I've actually met in person.
yeah,
Exactly the same. When I met her
yeah,
as she was. So that would be the same with you guys.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're exactly the same. Actually,
Uh,
she said, oh, you're exactly the same. I don't know why we expect ourselves to be different suddenly in person.
right,
But
Right, right.
right.
yeah, I think, yeah. Yeah,
It's coming.
let's talk about this. Yeah.
Yes, it's coming. It's coming.
So
So we won't belabor the moment. If there are any closing thoughts before we close out, ladies.
I just want to say thank you, Hilary.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you, Hillary.
too. You're
Yeah.
Thank
welcome.
you.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this calm tonight too. You bring such a peaceful
Oh,
calm to the environment every time I'm on with you. So I appreciate that. I
ah,
appreciate being in your presence.
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You want do you want to end it or shall I?
Sure, absolutely. Hillary, if you could stay on just for a moment and we'll
Yeah,
just
sure.
end the live. So